The benefits of having your own limited company are many, ranging from paying less tax to having legal protection, working as a separate legal entity. That's why in this video, I'm going to show you how you can incorporate your own limited company in the UK. To make this guide even more valuable for you, I'm going to show you a real life example of how I'm creating my own limited company for this YouTube channel. And let's get to it. So first of all, you want to go to the Companies House website, and you can just Google that online, and you can either go on their website, which is on gov.uk, and from there you can find the link, or if you search on Google, you can see directly a link where you can click to set up your own limited company. So I'm just going to click on Set Up Limited Company. Then it's going to take me on the Set Up a Limited Company page, and we can see there's a few steps. So first of all, we can see if creating a limited company is something that is for you. So in some occasions, you're actually better off working without a limited company, registering as self-employed or as a sole trader. And that's because when you start working in a limited company and generating income, all of the income is taxed at 19% corporate tax. Whereas if you're making money as an individual, you have a limit that you do not pay tax on. So the threshold is £12,500 in the UK, and from £12,500 to £50,000, it's 20%. So if you're making more money than the middle point between £12,500 and £50,000, if you do the math, you could see that the tax benefits of having a limited company start to apply, because you're actually starting to pay more tax as an individual rather than if you had a limited company. And likewise with having a limited company, if you start making money with a limited company from the start, you'd actually be paying more tax than if you started off as an individual. So that's why they've put the first question over here with some links for you to check if you actually need a limited company or you're better off working as self-employed. And also if you need some help and guidance on how to set up your business, you can also click on this link. Otherwise, I'm going to skip to the second question, which is choosing a name. There are several rules for creating a company name, and you can read all of them on the website if you click on the link. The next thing you want to check is if the name you're planning to use for your company is available, because somebody else might have taken it and that renders it unavailable for you to use. So you can use the link over there. An additional thing to check is also for a trademark that might have protected the name you're about to choose. So you can go to search for a trademark, search for trademark, keyword, phrase, or image. So you can search by word. So I'm just going to type in Clement, because I'm planning to name my company just my names, Clement Paskalev. And I'm going to select any words, which means it's going to show me the results containing either Clement or Paskalev. If I left the selection at all words, it would show me only Clement Paskalev as a combination, whereas I want to check for usage of either of those names. So I'm just going to scroll down and click search. And here we go. We can see all of our results. We can see Clement, which has an E instead of an I, which is fine because my name is with an I. We can see some other names that are similar to mine but are not the same, which is absolutely fine, meaning that no trademark has protected my exact name, which I'm pretty glad about. I'm just going to go back now that I've checked that there are no trademarks protecting my name. And now I'm going to click on Name Availability Checker. So we just checked for trademarks, and now we're going to check for companies using the name. So I'm going to type in Clement Paskalev, and we can see that no company has that name. I'm going to search just for Clement, my first name, and no results, which is cool. Okay, I'm going to click on Set Up a Private Limited Company. Now that I've did all my checks, I know it's available, so I can go ahead and create my limited company. I'm going to click here, Register a Company. I'm taken to this page. You can see I'm going to need a few pieces of personal information, because any legal entity like a limited company, when it's incorporated with Companies House, they want to know details about yourself as an individual, because you're going to be the main shareholder that's creating the company. Scroll down, see a bit more information. It's going to cost you £12 to incorporate it, which is fine. Other ways to register is by post or using a third-party software or an agent, or you can do it yourself like here online as I'm showing you at the moment. Okay, click on Register Now. I'm going to start the application. Yes, it's a new application. If you do have an open application and you've started to create a limited company before, which you haven't submitted and it's not finished, then you can click on No. Then it will allow you to find your existing application from before and you can continue with that one. I'm starting afresh from here. So I'm clicking yes, I'm starting a new application. So click yes, continue, check before we start, okay. Okay, so they're going to ask me some questions and my answers will tell them whether I can create a limited company or not, if I'm eligible for this one. Okay, let's go ahead, continue with the questions. Are you able to pay for this application using a card or PayPal? In this case, I do have a UK bank account, so I can pay directly with my debit card, so I don't need to use a PayPal. Either way, I'm going to select yes. Are any directors or persons with significant control on the company's house secure register? If you click here, you can see the definition of what a person with significant control is. This is someone who has substantial influence over the way the company is run. For example, anyone with more than 25% of shares or voting rights. I'm going to select no. You will now create a government gateway user ID for this company. So what happens if you need to set up multiple companies? Then they say you need to create a government gateway user ID for each of the companies. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, create a new ID. So over here, they're asking for an email. In this case, I'm going to create a new email that I'm going to use just for this company. You can go ahead and use your personal email and you can go ahead and change them afterwards, but it's just easier if you create a separate email for your new company beforehand. It's really easy to set up a new Gmail anyway. So you can go ahead, do that, have a new Gmail for the company, and then come back to the company's house application form and have that email to use. Cool, so I just created my new email so I can use that one on the company's house application form. Click continue. And then they're going to send you a code on your email. Copy the code from the email, paste, confirm our email. Email address confirmed. Okay, continue. What's my full name? Then you just enter your full names. It's going to prompt you to create a password, which is for this government gateway user ID. Okay, then they're going to give you a government gateway user ID. You will also get an email confirming your gateway user ID. So make sure to save that email. Click continue. You need to set up additional security. Okay, go ahead. How do you want to get access codes? You can use text messages. You can use a voice call, which is going to be a robot telling you a bunch of numbers. Or you can use an authenticator app for a smartphone. You need an authenticator app on your device. Okay, I'm going to click continue. So over here, they provide you with a QR code, which you need to scan with the Authenticator app. There are several Authenticator apps that are absolutely free online in the App Store or Google Play. Depends on the device you're using. So you can just download one and set it up for free. And then inside the Authenticator app, you need to scan this QR code. So after you download the Authenticator app, you open up the Authenticator app and you scan the QR code. Okay, so when you scan the QR code, you can click continue. Then it's going to ask you for an access code. This is a 6-digit code that the app shows you. So you make sure it doesn't expire because it does refresh every now and again. So you type it in, click continue, and then it will allow you to add a name for this app, for this phone. So I'm just gonna select an iPhone XR because that's what I'm using. And that's it. You've successfully set up additional security. Congrats. Which email address do you want to use for this application? I'm just going to select the same email I registered before. What is your relationship to the company? Well, in this case, if you're creating your own company, you want to select company director, which I am. I'm going to click that. Save, continue. Will the company be a community interest company? This is a special type of company that exists to benefit the community. So that's going to be, for example, an NGO, a non-government organization, if you're working as a charity or a non-profit. In this case, I'm going to work as a profitable company. So I'm going to select no. Will the company be limited by shares or limited by guarantee? A limited by shares, this is the most common type of company. If owners ever want to take profits from the company, choose limited by shares. And you can see below limited by guarantee, widely used for non-profit bodies and charities. As I mentioned for the previous question, this is not the company we're aiming for. In this case, we're not going to delve into details. I'm just going to select that, limited by shares. It's going to ask you for the company name. So remember, we checked for trademarks and existing companies that are using my name. So I've checked that, it's available. So I'm just going to type in Clement Paskalev. Limited. Then it will ask you how do you want it to appear in the public records, Limited, Ltd, or other name endings. Limited and Ltd is pretty much the same thing. It does not have any effect on the legal entity. It's just how it appears on the public records. I'm just going to go with Limited. Over here, what is the company's registered office address? So for this question, there are several options. You can actually use your home address, which is absolutely fine. But bear in mind, this is going to be information that is publicly available. So when you register a company, it goes to Companies House, gets approved, and it goes to public records. So anyone can search for your company and the public has access to details. So when you're using your personal address, the public will have access to the address you've entered. The second option is, if you want to have more privacy, there are services online that you pay for and they give you like a virtual address, or you can also use your accountant's address, which you probably have to pay for additionally. Anyway, you're using somebody else's address and Companies House will send letters to that address. So you do need to make sure that that person or service are going to keep your post and any communications and correspondence from Companies House, keep that mail safe, and that they're going to notify you in a timely manner, because that's important. So I'm just going to enter the postcode over here I'm going to use for my company, and then they're going to offer me to choose an address. If you don't see your address over there, you can click that it's not appearing in the list, and then they'll allow you to enter more fields and type in your address manually. Okay, they're just asking you to confirm the address. Where will the company be registered? They're asking you for the country. It's England and Wales in this case. What is the company's principal place of business? Again, you can select either the address you've registered the company at, or you can select a different address. For example, you want the headquarters for the company to be somewhere else. So you can register the company as a legal entity at one address, but the principal place of business may happen at another place. So the headquarters can be somewhere else, which you want to register now. I'm just going to select the same address I'm registering the company at. Give us one or more ways to contact Clement Paskalev Limited. So one way is the email you've already given them. The other one is just a phone number. Is the new company replacing another business? In this case, I'm creating a brand new company. If you do have an existing company and you want to create a new one that's going to replace it, that's going to be a yes. In my case, it's a no. When will the company start trading? This really doesn't have a lot of weight on how things work. So you can either set it to on the same date that it gets set up, which is pretty much immediately. You can set it to be a future date, or you can set it to no plans to start trading or doing any type of business. So the third option over here, you want to create the company just so you can secure the name. So it's created, it's yours, it's sitting over there. In accounting terms, it's regarded as dormant and non-trading. So if you're not planning to do any business and you just want to create the company so it can stay there, it's yours, it's protected, that's fine. The third option is for you. If you are planning to start working anytime soon, then you can either go with the first or the second option. I've already started working, so I'm going to go with the first option. In its first 3 months, will the company do any of the following? Pay interest on any non-bank loans, make royalty payments, receive interest or dividend payments from overseas? It's going to be a no to all of these in my case, so I'm just going to click no. What will the company be doing? In this case, they're talking about the SIC Code, also known as SIC Code. The SIC Code is the sector industry code that pretty much tells Company House the main activity your business will be doing. They're using a lot of keywords to kind of narrow down all the categories of a business. So it's worth researching beforehand which codes you need to use. You can use, I think, up to 4 SIC codes for your business. And it's worth really starting off with the one main business activity so that you leave a bit of empty space for the future in the case you want to kind of expand the activity of your business. You can change those SIC codes in the future, but I think there's a fee to do that. So I'm just going to go with the main one at the moment, which is going to be video production activities for a YouTube channel. If you've done your research, you can search for them using exactly the number of the SIC code. Otherwise, you can use keywords. So I've just typed in video and I can see video production activities over here. So I'm just going to click that, save and continue. Okay, check and confirm what your company will be doing. Over here, they have an add another business activity button. So as I said, if you want to add more SIC codes, you can do so over here. I'm just going to leave it as it is for now. I'm just Googling this to show you an example. All UK companies must provide at least one SIC code when they register. If you want to, you can use up to 4 SIC codes for a company. Okay, has anyone on this application ever sent a secure register form to ask Companies House for protection? In this case, that's a no. Director's details. Okay, over here it's pretty much personal details only. So type in all of your names, all of your titles, date of birth, nationalities. In the job title field, it's pretty much whatever you want to be visible on the public register. So what's going to be your job title in this company? You can use whatever you want. In this case, I can just use entrepreneur because just creating a company to do digital assets. What's the correspondence address? This is the address you're telling them to send all the posts to. As I mentioned before, when you're using a service or your accountant's address, you should point to that address for Companies House to send the mail to. What's the home address? Now they're explicitly asking for your home address as an individual. It has nothing to do with the company. This will not be publicly visible. Does Clement want to receive filing reminders? I'm going to select yes. Filing means that all of the due diligence your company needs to hand over to Companies House, for example. At the end of each financial year, for example, you need to send Companies House a confirmation statement, and that pretty much tells them if you have new directors, new shareholders. So for example, you've sold off a chunk of the company, you've sold a bit of shares. So you need to tell Companies House who the new shareholder is. Or for example, you've hired a secretary, so you need to register the secretary on the files. I do want to receive free reminders on my email, so I'm just going to click yes, please remind me. Which email address should they send the reminders to? Again, it's going to be the company email address I just created for this purpose. Do you want to add another director? No, it's going to be only myself. And over here, it's a confirmation page. They're pretty much asking you to confirm all of the details you've given them on the previous questions. It's really important for you to check the emails, check your personal information like date of birth, names, phones, check the addresses you've given them. Okay, they're asking you to confirm where the director lives and whether you agree to become the director of the company. Click save and continue. You're about to set up an online filing authorization for the company. Digital authorization is quick, paperless, and secure. This means the director can instantly file most information online and digitally authorize other people to file online for the company. And this is perfect for you to register for because you can authorize your accountant to do the filings for you for the company, which is really handy, so make sure to register for e-filing. How this works is that they will send you an authentication code that will take 5 days to reach you at your address or at the correspondence address you've given them. And you can use that code to authenticate and confirm the web filing online accountant for the service. Do you want the directors to be digitally authorized to file online for the company? Yes, please. Which directors do you want to digitally authorize to file online? Myself. Click save. Does Clement have an existing Companies House web filing account? If they already have an accountant, we'll add the company to it once it's incorporated. I do actually have another web filing account because I have another company, so I'm just going to click yes. If this is the first company you've created, you're going to click no for this one. Click continue. Which email address does Clement Pascalev use to sign in web filing? So I'm just going to give them the email address for the other company. Check and confirm authorization details for online filing. Just check what you've told them and click continue. You're about to set up the company's shareholders. Now this is a bit interesting because you get to have shares. Would you like to add another shareholder? Not at this time. If you or your friends are creating a limited company together, then you want to click yes and add them. But you've probably answered another question beforehand about other people in the company or other directors. Check and confirm the shareholders. Do you want to use most common type of shares? In this case, is yes. So the ordinary shares are used 99% of all British companies. So you want to click on yes, ordinary shares. They'll allow you to vote when it comes down to companies' decisions. You get 1 vote per share. You also get to keep profits in the form of dividends. If you have shares, you get dividends. And you also get a share of capital, for example, if the company closes down. Or if you want to sell off capital, you just sell off shares. So I'm going to click yes. How many shares does Clement own? I'm going to select 100 shares, and this equates down to 100%. So 100 shares is actually 100% ownership of the company. If you select 1 share, then you're not able to actually sell a part of the share. That's why it's a really good practice to, at minimum, use 100 shares. Because in the future, I can sell 40 shares, which is 40%. You've probably heard in movies, oh, he has 51% of the company, or he has 40% or 33% of the company. That's the amount of shares, the proportion of the amount of shares out of the entire amount of shares that the company has. So you can use 1,000, for example, and in the future, you can actually create more shares for the company. You can tell Companies House to increase the number of shares this company has if you're planning to sell off a really small number. Otherwise, I'm just going to go with 100, which is a really good practice to start off with. It's just really easy maths. 100 is 100%. Choose a value for each share. Now, this value is actually the value of each share, and you need to pay that value to Companies House for it to incorporate your company. If I select £1, they're going to ask me to pay them £100 just to create my company and the shares. So that's why, since I have 100 shares, I'm just going to give the value of 1 pence for each share. That way I can pay Companies House just £1 and have 100 shares. This does not have a direct effect of how your company is valuated, because in the future you can sell a single share for thousands of pounds, even though it was incorporated with a single penny. That does not really matter. It just comes down to how much you want to pay now at the moment. Here you go, 100 shares, 1 penny. That's going to, the company has a total of 100 ordinary shares with a total value of £1 in British pounds. Yep, absolutely happy, confirm. You're about to set up the persons with significant control over the company. And again, they're telling you what a person with significant control is. It's someone who has more than 25% of the company's shares and voting rights, and has the right to appoint and remove directors. In this case, we have 100% of the shares, so we are the person with significant control. So, yep, click continue. From the previous answers, we know that Clement is the person with significant control. That's absolutely correct. Click continue. Does Clement have the right to appoint or remove majority of company's directors? Absolutely yes. And this is one of the things you want to keep for as long as possible. When you're selling shares from your company to someone else, you want to always keep majority so you can have the rights to fire people if they're not taking care of your company as well as you like to. Okay, on the final screen, we get to check all the details we've told them about shareholders. Yes, all that's correct. Click continue. Model Articles of Association. This is a document they provide you about the company. All limited companies must have Articles of Association. These are rules for directors and shareholders about how to run the company. Model Articles are a standard set of rules that have been written to suit most companies. In this case, I do want to use Model Articles. My company is nothing too special at the moment, so if you want to view it, you can click on the link. And you can read all of the rules, which are pretty boilerplate, pretty standard. I'm going to go with that. Yes. Click continue. Do you agree to form the company? Shareholders must agree to form the company. This is done in the form of a legal statement called a Memorandum of Association. You'll be sent the official version by email once registered, and you can click the link to open the memorandum. It's a pretty cool document. If you want to print it out, put it in a frame and hang it on the wall in the office of your company. Continue. Create electronic signature for Clement. Okay, then they're asking you to select 3 pieces of personal information that only you as an individual know. Make sure that those pieces of information are not easily findable and available on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or whatever else you're using or registered on online. Make sure these are things that are particularly hard to find out online. That's why it's a good rule of thumb to never reveal too much for yourself online, because you end up not having a lot of personal details that the public does not know. So yeah, it's just about security. I've shown you the questions, but I'm not going to show you which ones I've chosen and what I'm going to enter, just for security purposes. Check and confirm the answers. Go through everything in the application. Make sure this is the last step. Really important to check everything you've done. Shareholders, percentages, directors, person that holds more than 75% of the shares. Yep. Again, make sure the business activity is correct. In my case, video production activities at the top. That's absolutely spot on. Number of shares, the value of shares. Yep. Confirm. Okay, you're about to make a secure payment of £12. This is how much it costs for you to make the online application. So make sure you keep a record of the company's house submission number. This would make it easier later to pay for it or get some correspondence back if something happens and you don't get any confirmation via email or through the post. You have a submission number, so you can tell companies house the submission number and they will provide you information on what's happening. Okay, I'm going to go for the payment. Payment details. I'm just going to skip the payment information for you. Application submitted. Well, congrats. You just submitted an application to incorporate your own company. So the next step for you after creating a company's house is getting to register for corporation tax. That's on the gov.uk HMRC website. And 5 working days in the future, you'd get a letter in the post from Companies House like this one. Congratulations on becoming a director. You've been appointed as a director of Clement Pascalev Limited. As a director, you're legally responsible for running the company. You must keep company records and report any changes to us. From this point on, at the top right on this letter, you'd have a company number. And this company number now you can use to apply for a corporate business bank account at banks. And you can also give this company number to your accountant along with some other details about the company, so the accountant can start preparing your annual documents for HMRC. And that's how you create a limited company in the UK. If you found this video helpful, then drop a like so it can spread to more people. I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.